how you guys doing? This is actually part one of two on the Flaparons. Part two already got posted. I tried to do part one, and for some reason it didn't upload. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through of what I was talking about. Part two, I just kind of showed you that I do have Flaparons along with elevator mixing put into that with the flap switch. Mainly on the first part that didn't upload, I was talking about the receivers that come with these planes. Well, mainly the Mustang and the one that everybody's wanting Flaparons on, the F4F. Now, with the ar500 receiver, I did a lot of research on this receiver. Although it looks like it's a 6-channel receiver, obviously everybody knows it's a 5-channel receiver. Now, the reason people are getting confused is because people are asking how to put Flaparons on the F4F. And a lot of RC forums and even on some videos that I've found. And people who don't have it but have, the 6-channel receivers are trying to tell people to take the splitter off and put one aileron servo into the aileron slot on the ar500 and put the other aileron servo into the other aileron slot. Now, the reason this won't work, and trust me, I've done my research, even looked up the ar500 and basically how it was made. Regardless of how you do anything, the two aileron slots on the ar500 are one channel, even though there's two. Inside the ar500, there is actually I guess you'd say a micro Y connector. So regardless if you took your Y connector off and you try and hook the left and right servos for the ailerons up to both separate channels on the receiver, it's still just like you had a Y connector on there. So basically that's where it starts to get difficult when you're wanting to do Flaparons, because you can't split it up like that. Now on a 6-channel receiver, on the Spectrums, it's easy to do. You put one of your aileron servos into the aileron slot, and you put the other servo into the auxiliary one, and then you just do a little bit of mixing on your radio and activate a few other components on the transmitter, and Flaparons are not a problem at all. As well as spoilerons. But on the Mustang, you can set up Flaparons. Now, people try and tell you that you can plug it into the gear slot on the receiver to kind of use that and mix it in the radio and get it to use Flaparons. This will not work. The reason this will not work is because the gear slot in the receiver, the signal it gives to the servo for landing gear is basically the neutral position, which would be open or closed, whichever, if it's reversed or normal mode. There is no in between. There's not a full function like an aileron where you have control over the entire movement. And there's no way to sub-trim it through your radio. I spent probably over 6 hours trying to get Flaparons on the F4F. I got everything done the best I could, and no matter what I did, one of the ailerons was always reversed. And since you do it by mixing, using both Mix 1 and Mix 2 on my DX6i, I tried everything. I spent hours on it. And I read that it couldn't be done, but I still had to give it a shot to see if I could do it. And I truly believe now that if you are using ailerons, throttle, elevator, and rudder on an ar500 receiver, you're pretty much out of luck for Flaparons. The only way I got away with it on my Mustang, as you can see in the second video when I show you the Flaparons, is I chose not to install the rudder when I bought this Mustang, and because I'm going to be modding it out for some high speed, I decided to go ahead and put Flaparons on it. Since I'm not using the rudder, I simply plugged one aileron into the aileron slot and the other aileron servo into the rudder slot, went into my mixing, set it up, and I'll cover that in a video on how to set it up on the DX6i. And now I have full functioning flaparons, along with a little bit of elevator mixing into it to give me a little bit of down elevator when the flaps come down by using the flap switch. And since I'm going to be probably almost doubling the weight of this plane with everything I plan on adding into it, I think this will be the one case that it'll be a good idea to put flaparons on a warbird. Now, the reason I say that, a lot of you guys are wanting to do this, and I understand it's a cool little feature that you can do. A lot of people are wanting to do it on the F4F. I would not recommend doing this. The F4F is very easy to tip stall to begin with. If anybody is, that owns this plane, has flown it, you know what I'm talking about. If you go at a slow speed and just try and get it close to the stall, you'll notice that it will tip stall very easy. Flaparons really aren't the best decision to do on a low wing airplane where the ailerons or the control surfaces are at the tips or ends of the wings. That's why they make flaps. Flaparons on a high wing trainer or something like that work great. Now on a low wing fighter or something like this, basically you have to land it with more power, and you are, I would say, at least a 50% greater chance of tip stalling the plane on your approach to land with flaparons set up on one of these planes. I really didn't want to do it, but you guys asked, and I told you I would do some of the stuff, so I've got this one all set up. I'll show you how I set it up in the radio. I'm also going to go out and do a flight with it, flight review. I'm going to see what the stall is on it, get it up there and try and stall it out. I'm going to come in super hot with it. I'm going to give it a little bit of everything and see what happens. But once I get done modding this one out, I think it's going to have the weight to it, and I'm going to have to land it hot enough that I think I'm really not going to have to worry about tip stalling on flaparons. So I went ahead and put it on the Mustang, as you guys can see in the second video. And like I said, I will cover tomorrow on a video on how to set that up inside the radio if you have not used your rudder channel in your Mustang. That is the only way, is if you have an open channel on the ar500 out of the 4 channels, out of the 4 basic channels. For the F4F guys, sorry, if you've got an ar500, you're pretty much out of luck if you're using all your control surfaces. So I've done a lot of research on this too, guys. I've read all over the place and read all kinds of people trying to tell you can do it this way and that way, and I have done it every way, and there's only one way possible to do it, and that's if you have an open channel, and I'm pretty sure most of you would like to use your ailerons and elevator and throttle. I know I like it. So if you don't have the rudder hooked up, you can go ahead and put flaparons on and try it out and see how it works, but I really don't recommend it on low-wing warbirds like these where the ailerons are on the very, very ends, simply because you're basically setting yourself up to pick up some pieces after a flight when you're coming in for an approach. So I'll follow this up with a video on how to program, then I'll follow it up with a flight video as soon as the winds calm down a little bit. We've been having some crazy winds here, and after I get that all done, I guess we'll find out if it's a good idea or a bad idea on these low-wing warbirds to have flaparons for your approach. Now, if you do set it up on the Mustang, just a quick piece of advice, go ahead and throw in on your transmitter, go ahead and throw in a little down elevator. I think I put like around 30 on it, which isn't that much, but it raises it up just enough to give you a little bit more lift, and I recommend really coming in with more throttle than you usually do. So if you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that, go ahead and leave them, and I'll be more than happy to answer them, and I will get those videos coming to you guys as soon as I can. Hopefully the radio one tomorrow and the flight one. I've been itching to go out and fly, but it's been crazy windy here in Kansas, so I haven't really been out much this week. But I'll have some more videos coming your way, and sorry guys about the F4F. I just could not figure out with the AR500 how to do that, and I really just don't think it can be done unless you want to lock in your rudder and use that channel to set it up the same as a Mustang. So I'll see you guys soon.